Well, that was all too common, but it equals W. What's up, you guys? I am Sean Ross Sapp, and I'm just tweeting out this link. My God. Fortunate. Joe Burrow out possibly for the year with turf toe. That I did not realize until yesterday was a surgical situation, but Joe Burrow, and there's lots to talk about here. Quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals moving forward. There are possibilities. There are to get into here, but let's dig into it. Joe Burrow during the Cincinnati Bengals victory over the Jaguars. The Bengals move on to 2-0, first time since 2018 that they are 2-0. That's cool. That's good. But Joe Burrow was taken off the field. There was this weird lie on Twitter, and I don't know why people are willing to just eradicate their own credibility by saying such, by claiming, oh, the Bengals don't have a cart. It's an NFL requirement to have them on each sideline. And then people will say, yeah, but. No, there's no yeah, but. You lied. That's it. They got an MRI machine in the building. Not like it mattered. They could have got him across the street and done it, all that. But he's going to miss at least 3 months. Well, at least 3 months is what's said. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. It doesn't look like he's going to be rehabbing that, but that 3-month timetable would have him back in mid-December for a stretch of games that could be very beneficial. So we are going to look at the Bengals schedule, the possible outlook, and how things will be if Joe Burrow does return this season, because quite frankly, there's a really, really good chance that he is not back this season. You got Jordan Battle's brother saying they're lying to you. He ain't going to be back this year. Where does he hear that from? Does he hear it from his brother? Is he just saying that? What's going on? Jake Browning is the backup. Jake Browning had an abysmal game yesterday. That wouldn't have been abysmal had he just not made a couple of dumb throws. Like one of those picks, sure, that happens. But 2 of those picks happened on some of the worst throws you're ever going to see in your entire life, right? Just head back, heaving the ball like he's playing at recess type of thing. However, what we do know about Jake Browning is that he can win football games and win them against at least semi-decent teams. He's won against a couple, mediocre 9-8 teams. He's not usually beating a good team, though. The Bengals' run game is real bad right now. Chase Brown is not getting it done. They have not given any other running back a carry. I would imagine that's going to change immediately. I would expect Samaje Perine to get more runs, although he's sort of become the de facto return man because the Jags just kicked it to him a bunch. I would imagine that both Samaje Perine and Taj Brooks get factored in a little bit more, because if Chase Brown also goes down, you are in a worse position. Now, despite what it looked like, Jake Browning had less time to throw the ball yesterday than Joe Burrow, apparently, which is interesting. Which, I mean, that might also factor in the fact that Joe Burrow is a little bit more mobile, because it felt like he was pressured earlier. And that's the big thing, right? It's like, well, why can't this line protect Joe Burrow? And if you would have told me in February that we would go into the season with Orlando Brown, Dalton Risner as a second option, Ted Karras, a draft pick that looked really good, and Amarius Mims, I would have felt comfortable with that line. And then Lucas Patrick at depth, all that stuff. Cordell Volson out for the year. Lucas Patrick out for a number of games. Amarius Mims got it a little banged up. Dalton Risner did not seem ready. Got pushed around quite a bit. If you're in the chat, drop a comment. Let me know that you're here. I know this is an unusual time show, and I did one yesterday, but we just kind of got the details. It's so frustrating, so sad. And at this point, you do have to look at Joe Burrow and say he is injury prone. Whatever that injury may be, year one, ACL. He dislocated a pinky one year. He had a strained calf one year. He had appendicitis and missed a camp. Wrist injury, toe injury. Possibly his third season-ending injury in 6 seasons. There is no ignoring that. There are other people with bad lines that get hit a lot. It is a fair criticism. There's a wealth of criticism that can be placed on the Cincinnati Bengals from a stadium or from a team standpoint. I've spoken about that at length. Had they signed Trey Hendrickson early, Jamar Chase early, T. Higgins early, it would have saved $20 to $25 million and been able to sign a top of the line guard. So that's frustrating to watch unfold. Shamar Stewart, we got good news on him. It looks like week to week because they need pass rush as much as they can. And Shamar Stewart doesn't seem to get to the quarterback as much, but he certainly makes you think he's about to. So that's helpful to have him back. The Bengals defense, specifically the secondary, I spoke about this yesterday. They're not good, but they are at least back to the 2023, 2022 method of they don't give up on the drive until it's over. And you saw that with them ending the drive in the red zone within the 10, I believe. You saw that with the pick in the end zone. And that was pretty much the Bengals defensive game plan a couple of years ago after Jesse Bates lost, was like punch it out, get a pick in the end zone, something like that. And that it's worked out for them the last couple of weeks, honestly, especially yesterday. And Jordan Battle looks really good. Dax Hill is looking pretty good. Cam Taylor-Britt almost came up with a pick, but we're here to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals at quarterback and specifically Jake Browning. Somehow, since December 23, the Bengals are like 5-2 with Jake Browning as their quarterback. He lost his first game against the Ravens where he filled in. He lost that first week against the Steelers or his first start against the Steelers. And then since then, he's been a winner. He somehow won these games. Now, I definitely think they need to bring in somebody besides Brett Ripien as a quarterback. I know a lot of people are going out and saying, go get Kirk Cousins, go get Jameis Winston, go get, see what Derek Carr is doing, things like that. I mean, Jake Browning has shown an ability to win games, but I think if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you still got to put a little pressure on him there. That's what they did with Desmond Ridder earlier this year, and I don't think it will be him because he proved so bad that they would rather just have a guy that barely or didn't play in the NFL over him as a third string. But what they did was they saw that Jake Browning hadn't played last year, and they said, let's keep him sharp. Let's have him compete for this backup job still. And here we are. Jake Browning earned that job and won a game to bring the Bengals to 2-0 for the first time since 2018. I would be completely fine if the Bengals traded for Kirk Cousins or Jameis Winston. Completely fine. Now, I don't know how much cap space they have left, but listen, Kirk Cousins probably gonna pay, or the Falcons are probably gonna pay some of that. Which, I think they seem pretty comfortable moving forward with Penix and all that, but the Bengals also have to keep whatever draft capital they can get. They've got to worry about that as well. But I agree with King of the North. When you sign Chase and Higgins to those deals, you've got to make an effort to finish. And right now, let's talk best case scenario here. And we'll talk about it with Jake Browning, as it's not the hypothetical. If for some reason they sign somebody else, then we'll talk about that. But So the Bengals start 2-0. They got the Minnesota Vikings on the road this week, and the Vikings looked like a two-pack of ass. And unfortunately, J.J. McCarthy is not starting Sunday. Now, Carson Wentz is starting. The Bengals traditionally are pretty damn terrible against backup quarterbacks. And this is a backup quarterback who has a wealth of starting experience. If the Bengals traded for Carson Wentz, I would have been stoked. I would have been happy. Now, granted, he started 2 games in the last 2 seasons. He looked fine in those games. He hasn't looked abysmal, terrible, or anything like that. I thought he was better in 2021 than giving credit for. He wasn't good in 2022, but it's tough to say what a Carson Wentz even looks like these days. But I get the feeling they're probably going to find a way to whoop the Bengals' ass. But you know what? It is possible that the Bengals win that game. It's possible. Denver on the road Monday night. They've got a really good defense. And that's one. I'll be at that game. I'm still going to go to it. I don't think that the Bengals are going to win that game. Another one, it's another one where I don't think they're going to win, but I'm not going to put it out of the realm of possibility. They are not beating the Detroit Lions at home or the Green Bay Packers on the road. Neither of those are happening. It is hard for me to believe that they will win in prime time on a Thursday game against Pittsburgh, but I want to see more of Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh didn't look great yesterday. I think there's a real shot that they beat the Jets at home. There's no reason to think that they wouldn't beat the Jets at home still. The Bears at home seems like one that they could possibly win as well. At Pittsburgh, probably not winning that game. New England at home is one that they could possibly win. There is absolutely no chance they beat Baltimore or Buffalo on the road. And then we get into the period of the season where maybe Joe Burrow would be back. December 14th, Baltimore at home. Hard for me to believe that the Cincinnati Bengals would bring him back for that. But let's say it's best case scenario, right? Bengals are 2-0 right now. Minnesota, maybe Denver, New York, Chicago, New England. If they've got 7 wins, somehow, 7 wins heading into mid-December, and you close out the season, Miami, Arizona, Cleveland, you are still in the hunt. 10 wins would probably get you into the playoffs. And that's where you got to start saying, okay, do we have Joe Burrow come back this season if he's able to? If they are sitting at 5 wins in mid-December, they're not going to bring Joe Burrow back. He's not going to come back just to get knocked around by Myles Garrett in week 18. That's just not going to happen. I do not see a world, a universe, a happening or an existence where the Bengals win against Detroit, Green Bay, or Baltimore now. Those are going to be monumental ass kickings. Just insane ass kickings. So right now, if we put the 3-month timetable on there, it is 11, maybe 12 games. 11, maybe 12 games. Can the Bengals go 5 wins in that period? Can they go 5-7? I don't think it's impossible. But there's going to be some real demoralizing games. There's going to be some 3 interception games here. There's going to be some real ugly ones. Now, there are some benefits. The run game opens up a little bit more when, or actually, I mean, they defenses respect the run a little bit more when Jake Browning is in, because with Joe Burrow, they pretty much know he's going to throw the ball all day. I do think that the scheme, I do think that some of the play calls, and I do think that some of Joe Burrow's own habits do contribute to these injuries. At some point, you do have to look at that and say, does there need to be a fundamental change there that occurs? That way you can protect this man and your franchise. You still got him for 26, 27, 28, 29. Still got him for 4 more years after this. Chase Brown's got to do better. Got to do better. Like, just based on his performance, I want to see P. Ryan and Taj Brooks get more carries. I think you almost got to try to use Drew Sample as a damn fullback at this point and create holes. What a lost start that is. Hope that comes back. But as I'm looking at the schedule, next week is pivotal. If the Bengals win next week, my outlook on this possibility is much more positive. Somebody mentions Andy Dalton. Brother, I would love to have Andy Dalton back in Cincinnati. I would absolutely adore having that man back in Cincinnati, from having him on the team standpoint, from for the city standpoint, for just an appropriate send-off type of way. Andrew Baydala said that. I would love to have that man back in our city. I think that Andy Dalton, while he couldn't get it done, and by it, I mean winning a playoff game, you have to understand where the Cincinnati Bengals were at that point. Like the year that Carson Palmer's last year was like the year I fell in love with football. And it was easy/difficult to be a Bengals fan the last few years. You had a really good quarterback, one of the better ones in the league. We had one of the best wide receivers in the league, looked like the best team in the league a couple times. Then those injuries happen and you go, oh, it's next year. And it's happened with every regime since. And then Carson Palmer said, to hell with it, I'm gone. Chad Ochocinco, gone. Terrell Owens retired after being a model teammate. And the Bengals were in complete just disarray. Just complete disarray. And they took A.J. Green first round, Andy Dalton second round. There were people on the radio saying, oh, well, Jordan Palmer can start. He'll probably be the guy. He's the only one that knows the system. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's going to be the second rounder. And what did he do? He immediately improved on the team. The Bengals made the playoffs the next year. And every year for like 5 years with Andy Dalton. Love that man. I wish he could have gotten the run that he deserved towards the end of 2015 before Marvin Lewis and the team melted down and imploded and all that stuff. And I'm glad he's still in the league, and I wish the Cincinnati Bengals would bring him in. I really do. And then you've got somebody. Yeah. Somebody says, also true, if Jake Browning was that good, he wouldn't be a backup. Well, now, come on. Jake Browning is widely considered among the best backups in the NFL. And those are backups that include some like veteran starters along the way. And he's still considered among the best. Player polls, everything like that. Jake Browning isn't great. He's not great. I wouldn't even call him good. He's serviceable is what he is. And when you have a Cincinnati Bengals team that has the firepower on offense that the Bengals have, serviceable can be good. Somebody says, don't take me out of context, Sean. I just read your comment verbatim. Okay, never mind. Jeffrey Pridemore says, I hate Jake Browning, and he shits his pants. Whoa, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, chill out, bro. Chill out. You said that Jake Browning is a what? I wouldn't go there personally. I wouldn't say that about Jake Browning. I think he's a nice guy. I would never say anything about his mother like you, Jeffrey. But hey. Stafford, same as Dalton, was so important to the city, but didn't win much. Well, he won a lot. He just didn't win in the playoffs. I mean, over the course of 5 seasons, the first 5 seasons, I should say, Dalton averaged 10 wins a season, and that was when there were 16 games this season. I would give anything for a 10-win season this year. Give anything for it. I do think the Bengals need to seek out a veteran quarterback as a backup. You do not give up on this season. I'm not giving up on this season. I gave up on last season, and I really feel bad about it. If you all watched that DraftKings stream that I did, I was so dejected. And I was checked out, man. I was so frustrated. And then the Bengals fought back and won 9 games. And I love that my team fought back. I love that my team fought to at least say, we are a winning team. Winning record. Like that's what makes me happy. Want to win more than we lose at the very least. That's a very baseline. But right now with the talent, the Bengals should be competing for a Super Bowl no matter what. And if you can get 5 wins in the next 12 games with Jake Browning, I feel pretty good about that. If you get 4, maybe not. Probably not bringing Joe Burrow back this season if you're fighting for a 9th win, right? But if you're somehow fighting for a playoff spot, because look, the Bengals have a jump start on the AFC North. They're not winning the AFC North, but they have a jump start on it. I'm honestly bummed that J.J. McCarthy's not playing this weekend because I was hoping that his newborn would keep him up all week and that he wouldn't get any sleep and play against our team. But right now, let's look. In the AFC, the Bills are 2-0. The Bengals are 2-0. The Colts are 2-0. And after tonight, the Chargers or Raiders, one of them will be 2-0. There will be one 2-0 team in each division. That's pretty good. You got to feel good about that. There are 3 in the NFC West, buddy. I feel pretty good about that. Especially considering that a couple of those teams that you're facing down the stretch are 0-2 right now. Chiefs are 0-2 as well. Chiefs might be fighting for a wild card spot because no matter what happens, they're going to be 2 games down in the West out of the gate. So now you got to look, instead of saying, oh, we're going to fight for the division, you're probably looking at who you're fighting against in the wild card, which Jaguars will probably be through there. Steelers will probably be hanging around there. The Browns aren't going to be. The Titans aren't going to be. Things aren't looking good there. Probably going to be, tooling around with the Broncos and the like. Maybe the Patriots take a step forward. Tim McFall says if they can keep their head above water and Burrow returns, they got a shot. But they're going to have to get better protection packages. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. And again, it might also be a situation of, well, we're not going to tell you all how bad it is type of thing, because I think there's a 55% chance that Joe Burrow doesn't come back this season. Guys, I want to thank you all so much. If the Bengals sign a quarterback, I'll be back whenever that happens. And if not, I'll be here Sunday. I'm going to the Monday Night Football game in Denver. Regardless, even if the Bengals get their ass whipped, I'm gonna go to Denver, enjoy my night off, hang out with my wife, go to their stadium, see how that is. Probably do a show after that. But I want to say thank you all so much for joining me. We're out.